It is a troubling local murder case that's attracted national attention. A 16-year-old boy from White Springs, entrusted with watching his 15 and 11-year-old sisters, was shot and killed. Police say his 15-year-old sister pulled the trigger while the other sister allegedly stood watch. Now both girls are behind bars, and their parents are also behind bars, charged with child neglect. But that's not where the story ends, and we welcome to the show our legal contributor, Heather Quick, who is on the case. And Heather, we're learning really some disturbing details about the police from these two girls. The 15-year-old was allegedly beaten by her older brother, and the 15-year-old apparently was locked in her room with just a blanket and a bucket to urinate in, which is...
I know the circumstances with which those children lived in are atrocious. It's really hard to believe. I mean, that's only, you know, what, 30 miles away from where we are now, and that really that's going on, and people are so sick, those parents, and you just have to wonder the mental state of these girls.
So will they be charged with, have they been charged yet with murder, the murder of their brother? Will they be charged with that if they had this history of, you know, allegedly being abused? That's what the investigators are saying. Is this something that will happen?
That it may, and it is all in the hands of the state attorney at this point. And so right now they're being held in juvenile facilities in two different cities, separate, of course, from their parents, who are also being held. And the state attorney is going to have to look at it. The one consideration they do look at is, well, can I win this case? Honestly, you know, beyond a reasonable doubt, and what are these mitigating factors? And we look at these two girls and the prior sex abuse allegations, the conditions with which they lived in. Well, so the older daughter, who's the one who, you know, fired the gun,
15-year-old.
She was previously assaulted by her uncle, who is serving a life sentence for sexually assaulting her. So that alone is, you know, it's just what it does to a child. You know, we can't even begin to imagine.
Here's what I don't understand, though, with this. When it comes to the charges, wouldn't they be saying, you know, obviously something's going on here, and they're not going to charge her? I mean, isn't that a possibility?
Like
I'm
self-defense,
a bit baffled.
maybe?
Yeah. I'm a bit baffled by even charges being brought up. As if I was in this case as a juror, I'd be like, not guilty. I don't get it.
Well, I think right now, okay, someone's got to take the children. Their parents are in jail, where those parents should be and remain for quite some time.
Absolutely.
So now who's going to take them? Okay, well, the state's in charge. And I agree, hey, we're not going to, it's not the best place for them to be in juvenile detention. Who's going to take them? So right now, I think if we look at it from that standpoint, they don't really know what to do. And not that the state attorney is social services, but they've really got to bring in the community services that are available. As he is also, he is required. He's got to evaluate this crime and determine if it needs to be charged. And I know what we've heard, we think not, and hopefully that'll be the right decision. But ultimately, these girls need help.
Was that not, would it not be considered premeditated if allegedly the 15-year-old went around the back of the house, she knocked the window AC out of the window to get inside to get the gun. The 11-year-old allegedly helped her to load the gun that fired the shot to kill the brother. You thought that through, sister girl. That's premeditated.
And that's the issue. And I think and take away the age. Obviously, we know if somebody is that young and something terrible is going on with them, that's probably never going to be fixed. You know, but yes, that I think is the problem the state attorney has. This is clearly premeditated. We've thought through these things. But if you're in an abused relationship, and there is I mean, how else are you going to defend yourself against that brother unless you wait till he's asleep?
Certainly.
Or wait the husband.
You think she would have been overpowered by him if it hadn't been a gun or
she had been
like
locked
that.
in the room, and the younger girl, and there's a 3-year-old in the house. I mean, the circumstances are clearly a child who is looking for a way out. And yes, those facts, absent the others, would be there. They're all troubling. But is that still going to be somebody who didn't act in self-defense? And that is a difficult decision to make.
This play out, and
indeed.
see what happens.
So sad.
Yeah, there's another story that we wanted to get your take on. It is an underage sex scandal involving Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and he has been accused of having sex with a 17-year-old woman, a minor under Florida law. Well, he was on a private island in the Caribbean, which is owned by Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire financier who served 13 months in jail back in 2008 for soliciting an underage girl for prostitution. So Heather, this woman who lives in the United States, Virginia Roberts, claims that she was employed and held as a sex slave by Epstein. So what are we talking about here? I mean, I think she's 30 years old now. This happened when she was 17. So is this a criminal charge? I mean, I know obviously we have to look for evidence and what's going to come forth with that. Is this going to be a civil lawsuit? I mean, where does this go? I mean, these allegations are huge. I mean, you include a former president. There's a Harvard law professor who allegedly visited this island as well. You know, there might even be videotapes. You know, Epstein may have allegedly recorded some of these sexual encounters.
As well as possibly other girls. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it was a
Yes,
whole
and
strange
owning
situation.
girls, as we know, this sex trade is alive and well. It really is, and in this country as well. Well, we're going to have to look at what are those international laws, because that's what's going to fall under, not our laws here in the United
Unless
States.
something happened here in the United
Unless
States.
something happened here.
in
Everything
Florida.
I've read thus far is it all occurred on this island. And so now, does she civilly have a remedy? You know, we've talked about that. Yes, sometimes those statute of limitations are a little longer, and clearly he's got deep pockets. So,
Yep.
you know, that's an issue. And she has a book coming out, which is also probably, as we've seen before, on issues that may or may not have happened, but when there is money involved, that's when we seem to hear about it. And it's been so many years since this happened. I do question I don't question whether it probably happened, but why now? Again, you know, maybe she sees an opportunity to profit.
It's kind of like the Cosby case.
Very
you
much
know,
like
it's
the Bill Cosby case
right.
to me.
Yes.
You know, this goes back to the old saying of what's done in the dark always comes to light. All these years later, baby.
Especially if you
yeah.
allegedly have cameras behind bookshelves.
Well, yeah, then now it's going to really come to
That's
light.
a game changer too.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
there's another story that we mentioned earlier, but we want to get your take on. It's a viral video that's causing a lot of controversy, and it gives viewers step-by-step instructions on how to avoid a DUI arrest. So the lawyer who created it says, I'm just trying to prevent false arrests. But then there are safe driving advocates who think it really encourages drunk driving. So take a look.
I have my Fair DUI flyer, and this is my Fair DUI flyer, and you can see it has the Fair DUI flyer language. I remain silent. No searches. I want my attorney.
And so this is the point of the video where the guys, the police right there, come up, they read everything, and then in the video they wave him along, and they let him go by.
Okay, I watched his video several times.
Sure.
When he waves him along, I think he is telling this guy to go to the officer who is parked.
As he points.
Yes, I don't think he is saying go. See the officer over there to the right?
Nobody's driving away.
Well, then the video stops, so we don't know if he's driving away or if he's going to the cop car.
he's
I
driving away,
cannot
though.
see, Heather, help a sister out. First of all, I don't see how this encourages drunk driving at all. I mean, seriously. But is it that easy to put your license, your insurance card, and your registration in a little baggie, hanging out the window like a fishing pole?
Right.
And they read it and say,
not-
oh, go along. Not in this day and age. Bye, Felicia. I'm not buying that.
Yeah, I think it's clever. I do have to tell you, and I think that if you are impaired when you're driving, it's going to be difficult to get these things all together and to do that well. But what they are trying to tell you, well, I don't know if he's telling you that, but you know, once you start talking and you've been drinking, it's pretty obvious.
But the point he was trying to make, and the
Don't
reason why
talk.
they not even don't talk, the string went up through the window and on the other side so that he did not have to roll down his window.
They
couldn't
So that
smell
way the
anything,
police
they
wouldn't be
couldn't
able to
see
smell
anything.
anything.
That's right. And they say call the lawyer, but when you have a driver's license in the state of Florida, that's a privilege, and you get the license and it says, I consent to field sobriety tests and a breathalyzer or I lose my license.
So when it comes to DUI checkpoints,
Yes.
when you're driving up there, even though a cop has to have probable cause normally to stop you, they can
Unless
just
it's a checkpoint.
randomly.
If it's a checkpoint, because they have to publish it, and so you'll see it in the paper.
so a
it'll
checkpoint
be
is allowed.
absolutely, and
Okay.
there are a lot of precautions because it used to be much more
They
random.
have to publicize it first? Is that saying?
Oh, absolutely. It'll be in the paper, so we'll see it maybe in our beaches paper if they're going to do
Wow,
one.
I never knew
and
that.
then generally
Specifically
they
where
have
it
to
is?
oh, absolutely, and from what
wow.
times and dates. And then they'll have a sign many times that flashes and say it's ahead. Now they will have officers
you
on
turn
the
around?
Well, they may have some officers on the other side, but then that's you know, you're wondering why they're turning around. But yes, there are a lot of laws or requirements to do that so that it's not entrapment. Per se as a defense, because there are a lot of valid defenses to DUI.
So when you go through a checkpoint, you gotta give them your license, or can you do what that video says?
Well, he did give
I
his
think
license.
you're buying a ride to jail by doing that.
Yeah,
But I do. You know, but because we have officers and you have a lot of egos come in and they're like, I'm not going to let you get away with that. But then I think You may have to spend a night in jail, and
Here's
then
the
you
bottom
proved
line:
your
don't
point.
drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive.
I mean, there's
Just
a,
that simple.
Or take an Uber or a cab. I mean,
It's always my
or
solution
go
to
to all
anything.
this, all this trouble. But you're right, absolutely. And so no, I think you're buying yourself a trip to jail for the night. And sure, oh yay, I won in jail. You know, when you're prosecuted, but
No.
boy, how good does that feel after you've spent a night
right
in county? So-
Exactly. Back to the whole thing. Don't drink and drive. Okay. All right.
I was hoping you were going to say it would work.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Not
Well,
the
you
That's
could
all right.
report back. I would like for you to try it, and that would be fun.
Yeah.
Next week,
not.
you can
Video
tell
it.
me.
Please.
Yeah, with the GoPro in the back of the car.
Have your boyfriend try it.
Yeah.
Do that.
All right. Well,
We'll
as
find out how
always,
much she
Heather,
loves him, right?
That's entrapment.
we appreciate you as always. And if you have any legal questions for Heather, you can visit her website, which is thequicklawgroup.com. She will answer and get back to you no matter what it may be. And still to come right here on the chat. Managing your long-distance relationship can be difficult, but not impossible. Relationship expert Dr. Richard Marks is here with tips on how to make it work.